Hi there, this is Don Ross for JamPlay.com. Now, a lot of people who learn fingerstyle guitar have heard about Travis picking. They won't necessarily know why it's called that or what it is necessarily. Well, as a bit of a antecedent to that, I'll quote the great Leo Kottke. Leo Kottke put it really well. He said, if you want to play fingerstyle guitar, first learn the patterns, and then second, unlearn the patterns. And it was really good advice. Learning the patterns, the picking patterns, really gets you going, gets your hands moving, especially your right hand. It helps you to develop a lot of dexterity. And the patterns end up being an open door to a whole lot of repertoire as well, because so many picking patterns have been used as the basis of so many famous songs. Think of songs like The Boxer by Simon and Garfunkel, or think of Leader of the Band by Dan Fogelberg or whatever. All these songs have a very strong Travis picking pattern in them. Now, Travis picking gets its name from Merle Travis, who was sort of a country blues picker and mostly famous in the middle part of the 20th century. And what he was famous for was coming up with a sort of a finger-picked kind of accompaniment to his songs. Now, he mostly just, from what I've heard, I'm not a big expert on Merle Travis's music, but what I've heard from other players is that he mostly just used his thumb and his first finger to create his patterns. And so he'd be playing this kind of thing just using his thumb and his first finger, and it sounded great. It was very rhythmic. What happened is through the 60s and 70s and later, people started taking that pattern and developing it and turning it into something quite a bit bigger and maybe in a lot of ways more useful in a lot of different kind of contexts. You could use these patterns to play pop music, to play folk music, to play country music, to play blues music. It could be very, very, used across a whole lot of different genres. And so for that reason, it's a really good place to start in terms of getting your hands moving fingerstyle. So what we'll do first is we'll look at the role of the thumb in Travis picking. Now, the thumb is pretty much always not just playing bass notes, but also really keeping time in a big way. And in this pattern, you'll see that it's really, really important. So for example, let's start with a G chord. We're in standard tuning. All right. And with the standard tuning, we're just going to play the regular sort of 6-string G chord. Now there's a couple of different ways of fingering the G chord. A lot of us learn it this way, with the B string open like this, and a lot of it learn it this way with a D note here on the B string of the 3rd fret. So they have slightly different sounds. Here's the one with the open B, and here's the one with the D on the B string. Just a little bit different. So what I'll do is I'll use this sort of more third heavy, by third I mean this note is the third of the chord, and it's really, really apparent. I'm going to use that chord voicing to teach this pattern. Now, with chords like G, the lowest G note in the voicing is here on the 6th string. Here at the 3rd fret of the 6th string, you have the note G. Now, that G ends up being the first note in the pattern because it's what's called the root. So the root, the lowest G in the G chord, so the note basically that gives the chord its name, that's what we're going to start the pattern with. So we use our thumb, and we go to the 6th string, we play that note on the 6th string, the G. Now, the pattern we're going to do with our thumb circulates between, primarily for the G chord, circulates between string 6 and string 4. Okay? So essentially, you're going to be counting time with your thumb like this in a 4/4 pattern. You'd be going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that just keeps going and going like the ever-ready bunny. All right? So what you want after a while is you want your thumb, that alternating thumb part, to be kind of like autopilot. Kind of like we're to the point where you don't have to think about it. Your thumb just does it. It just keeps time. It becomes like tapping your foot. So it's not like a heartbeat because you don't have to think about your heartbeat. But when you tap your foot, you have to kind of think about it. Well, when you think about it a little bit, and then just let it go and let other stuff happen, like I can talk and do it at the same time, awesome. Can't do that and chew gum at the same time, but anyway. Then what we can do is, that ends up being our 4/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's really just a pattern of 2 beats that gets repeated once, so total of 4. Math and music are not as related as arithmetic and music are. Anyway, so we're doing the on beats with our thumb, and then the fingers fill in on the off beats. So in other words, what we're going to do, our thumb is going to be counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and our finger is going to play in double time the notes between the notes. Okay, it's going to split these, what are called quarter notes, up into eighth notes. So we're going to fit treble notes in between the bass notes. So we'll end up counting like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So the 1, 2, 3, 4 is still there in our thumb, but our fingers are going to fill in the ands. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, like this. Let's just try this with thumb and first finger to start with. Okay? Thumb is alternating between 6 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Our first finger, let's assign it to our third string, the G string. So it's a G chord, so there's an open G there. And what we're going to do is, for now, we're just going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. We're doing everything with just the thumb and the first finger. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So already we've set up a little rhythmic pattern with some of the notes that make up a G chord. Not all of them, but some of them. Okay, let's add a wrinkle to that. Let's make the thumb part a little more interesting. Instead of just going between strings 6 and 4, let's add a variation to the pattern where we go 6, 4, and then 5, 4. Okay? So we end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what we're doing is we're incorporating more of the notes in the chord to make it sound fuller, right? Again, just with the first finger here. So thumb doing alternating 6, 4, 5, 4, and the thumb playing the off beats. The finger, first finger playing the off beats in between the notes there. Let's try it together. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2. One more bar. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and stop. All right? Great. One more wrinkle. Let's add another string. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to be using our thumb and first finger, but also finger number 2. Okay? With guitar playing, what we tend to do is we number the fingers thumb and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So, thumb's going to continue doing what it was doing. The thumb part hasn't changed much. Again, we're alternating 6, 4, 5, 4 in quarter notes like that. Then on the 8th note and the offbeat, we're going to add this string like we were. And then, after we play string 4, we're going to play string 2 with finger number 2. And this is what it sounds like, just the first part of the pattern. Okay? 1 and 2 and. So I've just done half the bar there. The other half of the pattern is, so the finger part essentially keeps repeating. It's like we get the on beat and we get string 3, on beat string 2, on beat string 3, on beat string 2. So like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and bars. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and stop. Great. Now that works really well for the G chord starting on string 6. Why again? Well, because that root note is on the 6th string. So it's the important string to start with. So what that means is any chord that you play, in this first position for example, any chord that you play that has that root on the 6th string, you can play that pattern and it should work just great. So let's try a different chord. Let's try something like E minor, okay, because we're going to stay in the key of G. G and E minor have a lot of the same notes in them, so they sound good one after the other. So when we go to the E minor chord, now we're playing the 6th string open to get that E. All right? So there's our root of the E minor chord. All right? And we'll play the exact same right hand pattern with the E minor chord. Let's start with the simpler one where we just use one finger like this. Together, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So string numbers 6, 3, 4, 3, 5, 3, 4, 3, 6, 3, 4, 3, 5, 3, 4, 3. Time 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and stop. Now let's try the same exercise but adding the 2nd finger on the 2nd string like this. Listen once. 3, 4. So string numbers are like this. 6, 3, 4, 2, 5, 3, 4, 2. 6, 3, 4, 2, 5, 3, 4, 2. And the time is still just 4, 4 time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So let's try that together, all right? 1, 2, 3 on the E minor chord. And 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and. String 6, 3, 4, 2, 5, 3, 4, 2. Good. Now the next wrinkle would be to go back and forth between those two chords. Okay, so maybe what we would do is do 2 bars of G and then 2 bars of E minor. So altogether we'll have this little exercise that's 4 bars long. Listen once, then we'll try it together. It would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. Switch to E minor. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Back to G. Back to E minor. And stop. Now as far as the pattern that starts on the 6th string like that, another really great thing to do with these chords that are, they're chords that have the root on the 6th string and also the voicings use all 6 strings. So it'd be nice to come up with a version of the pattern that used all 6 strings. Because, hey, you know, fuller is usually better. More notes is usually more interesting than fewer notes, right? Most of the time. Not always, most of the time. So let's try adding one more wrinkle to the pattern, making it just that little bit more challenging. And by doing it this way, we start using finger number 3. Now I know that this for a lot of people is a big challenge. A lot of people find doing thumb and first 2 fingers not too bad. Thumb and all 3 fingers, it's getting into, you know, having to walk and chew gum territory. So that's all right, we'll get there. So let's start with our very basic pattern on G like this. Together 3 and 4 and 1. That's just with the first finger. Add the 2nd finger. Right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add the 3rd finger. What ends up having to happen is you have to play the pattern over the course of 2 bars. So what we'll end up doing is thumb, first finger, thumb, second finger, thumb, first finger, thumb, third finger. And that third finger is going to be playing on the high string, on string number 1. Okay? So again, assign your fingers to the strings. So finger number 1 on string number 3, right here. Finger number 2 on string number 2. And finger number 3 on string number 1. And this way you won't have to, second and third guess, oh, what finger do I use on that string? Just be really strict with yourself for now, and then it makes the pattern that much easier to play. So here we're going to start just with the first finger, then with the second 2 fingers, and I'll introduce the third finger and see if you can fall right in. I'll go back and just do the pattern with the third finger on its own. So here we go. 3, 4. Just the first finger. Add the second finger on the B string. Do that another couple of times. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Now see if you can fall in here. I'll come back to this. So what I did there was I took the same pattern that we've been working up towards using fingers 1 and 2, and every second time that I would be using my second finger, I use my third finger instead on the high string. All right? So breaking it down really slowly, it's like this. Thumb, first finger on third string, thumb on the fourth string, then second finger on the second string, thumb again on the bottom string, followed by the third string, the first finger, followed by the thumb again on the fourth string, and then this time we play the high string with our third finger. So listen again. And this way we're playing all 6 strings in the chord. Try it together. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. String numbers, it's like this. 6, 3, 4, 2, 5, 3, 4, 1. And the time is still just a 4/4 bar. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and stop. So that longer pattern fits all in a 4/4 bar. Essentially what you're doing is you're taking a 2-beat pattern that we first learned and making it twice as long by adding that high string. And then it makes for a really interesting sounding bar. Now the last wrinkle in that little section where we're doing a Travis pattern starting with root on the 6th string. Let's go back and forth between 2 chords like we did earlier. Okay, the same 2 chords, G and E minor. But this time with the fuller sounding pattern where we use all 6 strings. Like I said earlier, the G and the E minor are voicings that use all 6 strings. So this pattern will sound great because it's a 6-string pattern in the end, all right? And we're using thumb and all 3 of our picking fingers. So let's try it going from G to E minor. Listen once. What I'll do is I'll do 2 bars of G and then 2 bars of E minor, back and forth. So it'll sound like this. We switch now. Maybe I switched a little early that time. Back to G. As you can see what I'm doing it slowly like this, I'm sort of trying to discipline myself to try to play this last note on the G chord before I switch to the E minor. Makes it a bit challenging. If you end up with that's That's okay, it'll sound great because you're going to the E minor chord anyway. So don't sweat it too much. Let's try it together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Back to G. To E minor. Two more times. My mistake there? That's better. Last time. Great. Now that pattern, that 6-string 4/4 pattern, is something that you can use in a whole lot of different contexts. And eventually, you'll want to speed it up, maybe depending on the piece of music. So it sounds a bit more like a sort of a folk song there. Or you could even make it almost like a bluegrass kind of thing if you really speed it up. Okay, so that's where we're headed towards with this pattern as we develop speed with it. So there's your 6-string picking pattern, and we'll be using it a lot here on JamPlay.